always write back. Chapter 10, page 65. August 1998. Caitlin. When I had not heard back from Martin by July, I started to worry. He usually replied within a month. I figured he was busy with school and life. I certainly was. I had just started my first real job as a camp counselor, which meant leaving my house every morning at 7:30 and not getting home until 4:30 in the afternoon. It was fun entertaining 6-year-olds all day, but exhausting. After work, I usually went straight home. I'd have dinner with my family and then hang out on our back deck with Heather or play flashlight tag with other neighborhood kids. It was pretty uneventful until my dad came home one night in early August looking upset. "What is it, Rich?" my mom asked. "Have you heard the news?" he asked. Mom clicked on the TV to the BBC, her favorite news channel. The screen filled with images of people running through the streets of some faraway city, blood pouring down their faces. 2 big men were carrying a limp body in between them, all 3 splattered with blood. Small fires flared in the streets as police cars arrived and sirens sounded. Bombing at American Embassy in Nairobi flashed across the bottom of the screen as an announcer said, "This was an orchestrated attack. Truck bombs were parked outside the American embassies in both Nairobi and Dar es Salaam." They were African capitals of countries not far from Zimbabwe. I knew this because ever since I started corresponding with Martin, I had been studying African geography. "Why would anyone do that?" I asked, dumbfounded. My dad shook his head and said, "There are evil people in the world, Caitlin." "Will they strike again?" I asked. I was thinking about Martin. There were only 2 countries, Mozambique and Zambia, in between Tanzania and Zimbabwe. I knew Martin lived in Mutare, not in the capital, Harare, but still, the thought of him being affected in any way made my stomach queasy. "Honey, I have no idea," my dad said. He was rattled. The following day, we learned that many people died from the attacks. The bombings marked the 8th anniversary of American troops arriving in Saudi Arabia. My dad used the word terrorists. I'd never heard that before and asked him to explain. "They planted a bomb that killed innocent people to make a political point," he said. "They're cowards." The bombings were front page news for days. 224 people were killed in Kenya, 10 dead in Tanzania. I was worried Zimbabwe would be next. That August, my family went on vacation to the Thousand Islands in Canada. We spent a week on a houseboat and brought Romeo, but left Kava home because Romy was a better swimmer, and Mom was worried about how we would walk both of them if we were living on a boat. I was worried about being stuck in such a small place with my parents, especially when I realized we were basically sharing the same room. I had a bunk bed, they had a queen-size one, and the only thing that separated us was a curtain. It was like upscale camping, and we actually had a blast. Every morning, Romeo and I would jump off the boat to swim. He would paddle over to a nearby rock or the shore so he could do his business. Then we'd swim back to the boat. On that trip, we visited a bunch of old castles, including Bolt Castle. It was named for its owner, George Bolt, a very rich man who had built it for his wife. She died suddenly, weeks before they were meant to move in. The tour guide said that George was so heartbroken that he never visited the castle again, but kept it as a shrine to his wife. I was so touched by his story. The place was magical, like something out of a fairy tale. It had a drawbridge and gardens shaped like hearts. The castle itself had 120 rooms, including a ballroom and a piano room. The Ulster Tower was a separate building twice the size of my home that George Bolt had built as a playhouse for his children. It made me sad to think they never got a chance to play there. During that trip, my mom took 1,000,000 photos. As we were flipping through the stack the next week after we got home, I picked out several to send to Martin. In one, I was wearing my mom's big-brimmed straw sun hat so I would not get sunburned on the top of my head. I was so blonde that people thought I was an albino. And I had such thin hair that my scalp sunburned easily. That shot was my mom's favorite picture of me. I liked it too. I wasn't looking right into the camera, but instead staring off into the sunset. That summer, I became obsessed with taking photos. My mom bought me an Advantix camera, which was so small it fit in my pocket. Imagine that, a camera so small it fits in your pocket. Remember, this is 1998. But it could still zoom in for close-ups or out for wide angles. I took 5 rolls of film on that trip alone and pasted them together to make collages when I got back home. One of which I pasted to my bedroom wall next to my Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys posters. Richie passed my room as I was doing it and he poked his head in. "What, suddenly are you an artiste?" he said sarcastically, pronouncing it the French way. Artiste. He hadn't come on vacation as he was leaving for his freshman year at California University of Pennsylvania, which was 4 hours west of Hatfield. He wanted to keep working at Sears to save as much money as possible. "Oh, whatever," I muttered. I was about to tell him to leave me alone, but I stopped. He was about to leave me totally alone that weekend. Instead, I said, "Shouldn't you be packing?" "I am," he said. I was thinking of a comeback like, "Actually, you are bothering me," but he was quicker. "Send this to your African friend," he said as he tossed a t-shirt into my room. It fluttered like a stingray beneath water before settling in a tangle on my pink rug. I picked it up and smiled. It was Nike, another brand Martin had mentioned in his letter. Richie was a jerk, but sometimes he was a nice jerk. "Thanks," I said as he disappeared down the hall. I sent that with a few photos I had selected from our vacation, and several I took specifically for Martin of our backyard, our driveway, and the dogs. I wanted him to see what my life looked like in America. Several weeks into 8th grade, I finally heard from Martin. He sent me an envelope that had a slight bulge. I tore it open and saw a pair of earrings. They were tiny, hand-carved birds painted with small white polka dots. He said they were called guinea fowls, which sounded very exotic. I imagined they were very expensive. He also explained that it took so long to respond because the post office had been on strike. I was so relieved that was the reason. I was also thrilled that he loved the Reebok shirt. He made a strange comment at the end of the letter that it greatly increased his wardrobe. I had no idea what that meant and was so swept up by his generous gift that I did not give it much thought. That fall, big gold hoops were super popular. All my friends wore them, and I had at least a dozen pairs in various sizes and thicknesses. My new African earrings were unique. Nobody else could possibly have had them, and that made me feel special. Still, I was a little nervous the next morning as I slipped them on. You know what? I like that he sent her bird earrings because we know that that's a symbol of Zimbabwe. Why do you think she's nervous to wear them, though? Page 70. Had Heather was the first to notice as we waited for the bus that morning. Nice earrings, she said. Thanks, I said, trying to sound nonchalant. Martin sent them to me. Your pen pal? Heather asked. Yeah, I responded. He got them at a traditional shop. That's awesome, she said just as the bus pulled up. At school, all my friends commented on them as well. My pen pal sent them, I explained every time. No one could believe that we were still in touch. He still writes? Hallie asked at lunch. My pen pal was lame, Allison chimed in. I got like one letter and that was it. Mine too, Lauren said. Or maybe I didn't write back. I can't remember because that was like forever ago. He must really like you if he sent you jewelry, Allison said. Caitlin insists that they are just friends, Lauren said. But I think she's really in love with him. I laughed at first, but really I was annoyed. Lauren knew we were close in a different way. She actually sounded a little jealous, which pissed me off. I wanted to share my news with someone who would understand how special my relationship with Martin was. Mrs. Miller was sitting at her desk correcting papers when I knocked on her door. Caitlin, she said, what a nice surprise. I just wanted to show you what my pen pal sent me, I said. You're still in touch? She said, clearly impressed. Yeah, I said. He's sent me 8 or 9 letters. Oh, and these. I slipped off one of my earrings and laid it on her desk. He bought them for me at a traditional shop, I explained. How remarkable, she said. I knew that and wished Lauren would see it as well, but that might be hopeless. We'd be fighting again. She never had time to hang out now that she was on the varsity basketball team, and I was getting to be closer friends with Hallie, who Lauren thought was lame. My favorite thing about Martin was that there was no drama. I could be entirely myself with him, and I felt he was doing the same with me. I looked forward to receiving Martin's letters more than going roller skating on Friday nights or to the mall on the weekends. He was introducing me to a whole other world, one I had never imagined before we started writing to each other. These earrings were a physical connection to him and to that world. I was excited to send him my next package with Richie's shirt so I could do the same. October 2nd, 1998. Dear Martin, hello, how are you? It was so nice to hear from you. Thank you so much for the lovely earrings that you sent. I wear them all the time and all my friends love them too. I'm very glad you liked the shirt I sent. You will find a shirt in this package too. My brother suggested that I send it to you. He likes Nike too. I will also look for a Fila shirt for you. I'm glad that you like the clothes we have in the U.S. I also included a postcard I bought him in Canada and several mechanical pencils I bought at Staples. They were my latest obsession and I thought he'd like them too. I paused before finishing my letter. I'd been thinking about Martin in a new way ever since the embassy bombings. I could not wrap my head around why anyone would want to harm innocent people or understand how hatred could fuel such violence. Frankly, I didn't want to understand it. It made me see how truly special my relationship with Martin was. I continued. As U.S. citizens, we are always mindful of the effects of terrorism. The radicals who cause this destruction of lives are so nasty and cruel. We hope it stops. Everyone must strive to get along, have an international friendship like us. I also told him about our vacation and explained all the photos I was enclosing, including the one Mom took of me in the hat, as well as one with me and Romy, and those of our house and cars. In the driveway on the right, you will see my mom's Jeep. My dad drives a 1997 Nissan Maxima, And my brother drives a 1987 Nissan Maxima. Richie took his car to university, so we have more room in our driveway now. I ended with, thank you again for the lovely earrings. I will always think of you when I wear them. At the bottom of the page I added, BF4E. Best friend forever. Aww. Wow, I cannot imagine what Martin is going to think of the picture of her driveway with the, teenage boy even has a car. That's crazy. I hope you're enjoying the book. I know I am.